So I think Stalker 2 is one of those games that's probably on everyone's radar, and today we're going to be diving into everything we know about the game so far. This one is something we haven't normally covered here, and it's something I never played the original one, but seeing this back at one of the game conventions and seeing the trailer for the first time really drug me in, made me really interested about it, so I wanted to dive into it with you guys today. We got an article from rockpapershotgun.com talking about the release date and everything we know, so let's just get right into it. It starts off by saying, what is the situation with Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl? The much-awaited survival horror FPS from the Ukrainian developer GSC Game World has been in development for over a decade now, but its release is seemingly drawing ever nearer. It's the first new game in the Stalker series since 2009's Call of Pripyat, and its rich, dark atmosphere and sumptuous trailers have gotten a lot of people excited to dive back into the mutated and deadly Chernobyl exclusion zone. Stalker 2 is currently expected to release in December 2023. This is the date given by the Stalker 2 Steam store page. However, until we get a firm release date, we should take this release window with a grain of salt. I wouldn't be surprised if and then it goes on to say they wouldn't be surprised if news of another delay soon comes to push the game back to 2024. Stalker 2 platforms. Stalker 2 will be available on PC and Xbox Series X and S. On PC, Stalker 2 will be purchasable on Steam, Epic Games Store, Microsoft Store, Xbox Store, and the GOG. As for PlayStation owners, the latest news was that Stalker 2 would be an Xbox exclusive for the first 3 months, which means we could potentially see a PS5 release after this time. The game won't run on last-gen consoles, according to the GSC Game World PR manager. That means Stalker 2 will not be coming to the PS4 or Xbox One. Stalker 2 will launch day one on Xbox Game Pass, so everyone subscribed to Game Pass will be able to play Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl for free, or at least without spending the money specifically on the game. Pre-orders for Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl are now available once more after having been temporarily discontinued due to the change in the Xbox Store policy back in September 2022. There are 3 editions to choose from. The Standard Edition, the Deluxe Edition, which includes additional story-based side quests, single-player 1 costume skin plus 3 weapon skins, multiplayer 2 costume skins plus 3 weapon skins, a digital art book, and a digital soundtrack. The Ultimate Edition has all that, but it includes the Season Pass with access to future DLCs, including 2 story expansions. And if you pre-order any of these editions, you'll also receive the following: extended campfire content, more guitar tunes, and tales that you can hear in the game around the Stalker's campfires, early bird weapon skin, early bird costume skin, early bird multiplayer badge, and the Steam Pack animated avatar frame, and animated profile background. In total, 4 trailers have been released by GS Game World, plus 1 very creepy and impressive teaser, which you can now watch from their YouTube channel. It goes into Stalker 2 in the Ukraine situation. However, with that being very political, and I just don't want to get into that, so we're going to skip that part of the video as we're just focusing solely on the game. Let's get into the story and setting. It says, like previous Stalker games, in Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, you'll play the role of a stalker, a traveler who has come to the deadly Chernobyl exclusion zone, known simply as the Zone, for reasons which range from personal gain to more collective motives. In this alternative reality, a Chernobyl disaster took place in 2006, 20 years after the first disaster. The second disaster was brought out by scientists attempting to tap into the noosphere. In reality, an abstract concept regarding the collective consciousness and thought of all the Earth's inhabitants, but in the world of Stalker, a tangible thing that could be studied and altered. The scientists reasoned that manipulating the noosphere could remove negative human traits such as anger, greed worldwide, but the experimenting backfired in predictable and horrific fashion, causing a second Chernobyl disaster which prompted the widespread mutation, strange meteorological phenomena to appear throughout the zone. As a result, there are 3 main obstacles in the path of any stalker: mutants, dangerous meteorological anomalies, and the humans. In the previous games, there were several, often warning human factions exploring the zone, from the lawless bandits seeking refuge where the law won't chase them, to military organizations such as the Duty, who seek to keep the dangers of the zone from spreading, or Freedom, a clan of stalkers who believe in sharing all the information and knowledge hidden inside the zone with the outside world. Not much is known specifically about the Stalker 2 story, except that the zone is once again calling for stalkers to plumb to their deaths and explore its mysteries. The protagonist, named Skiff, he is As you might imagine, a Stalker, the game's website states that the story is non-linear like the previous Stalker games and that your duty is to decide the fate of the zone. Then it goes into the gameplay and says, is a survival horror first-person shooter. There has always been an emphasis on realism in the Stalker series when it comes to survival systems, weapon modifications, and more, and from what we've seen so far in the trailers, the same is true of the GSC Game World's latest title. Players must eat, sleep, tend to wounds, combat radiation effects, and more to stay alive. According to the game's Steam page store, there are over 30 different types of weapons and various attachments which allow for hundreds of combinations. At one point in the gameplay trailer, at the top of the page, we see the player grab attachments like a scope and a silencer from atop some boxes nearby and immediately attach them to his rifle without having to open up an inventory or crafting screen, giving players a far more diegetic weapon customization experience than most other shooters. The 64 km squared Stalker 2 map is seamlessly open world. Unlike previous Stalker games where you had to use specific access points to travel between various regions of the map, there is a day and night cycle and dynamic weather system in place too. Another big aspect of the Stalker games has always been what the devs called a life, an ambitious system which simulated the daily cycles of actions of every NPC in the world at once. It makes it seem as though NPCs are always moving around and getting on with their lives rather than staying in one spot waiting for the player to interact with them. In Stalker 2, this system has been upgraded to become a life 2.0. The player may encounter spontaneous fights between factions and NPCs which move around with purpose and interact with each other in emergent ways, and so on. Then it asks how big is Stalker 2, and it says according to the Heart of Chernobyl fact page, it says players will need more than 100 hours of gameplay to explore its secrets. This likely means that 100%ing the game, and if you wanted to simply complete the main story and reach one of its very several endings, it would take a significantly shorter amount of time. Still, 100 hours is an impressive benchmark and speaks to the scale of Stalker 2. Then it asks, is it multiplayer? And it said multiplayer won't be released to Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, but the Steam store page states that there is a multiplayer mode added soon after the release as a free update. What form of the multiplayer we take, we don't know yet. And then it asks what engine is Stalker 2 running on. And it states that Stalker 2 is being built on the Unreal Engine 5, which explains why it looks so good. And just to cap off the article, it goes into some of the system requirements. Now, if you're on console, obviously it's not going to really matter that much. But if you are looking to get this game on PC, the minimum requirements are Windows 10, AMD Ryzen 1600X or Intel Core i5 7600K, an AMD Radeon RX 580 8GB, or an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 6GB, 8GB of RAM, 150 gigabytes available space. In additional notes, it says have an SSD. For the recommended requirements, it's Windows 10, AMD Ryzen 7 3700X, Intel Core i7 9700K, AMD Radeon RX 5700 XT 8GB, or an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070 Super 8GB, or an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080 Ti 11GB. And then 16 gigabytes of RAM, 150 gigabytes of available space, and again, additional note, have an SSD. That's going to do it for today for what we know about Stalker 2. We'll continue to cover it here on the channel. If you guys did enjoy, please be sure to smash the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing if you guys want to stay up to date on all the latest gaming news we cover, as well as just turn on that notification bell so you guys never miss an upload. As always, my name is Ross, and I'll see you guys in the next video.